One of the coolest places we got to visit was the ruins of Chorazim. Now, you may or may not know about Chorazim, but it's actually in the Bible, Matthew 11, when Jesus speaks, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the miracles that were performed in you had been performed in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes." And he goes on from there. But you can go visit the ruins of this ancient city today. You can see what life in a typical Israelite town would have been like back in the time of Jesus. You can actually see the ruins that Jesus would have walked through as a thriving village. And there's actually some hints there about what the Christmas story was really like as well.
So this is the ruins of Chorazim, one of the cities that Jesus pronounced woe against for their unbelief. You see there's millstones here. There's another group over there having a little time of worship. But this area is also known very well for being home to these little guys. Let's see if we can give you a close-up look. Yes, that is a rock hyrax, or around here known as schwarma puppies. So with Christmas coming, I thought this would be a neat little thing to show you. We have all these beautiful pictures of manger scenes and what it looks like. Well, this is a manger. This is a feeding trough, or at least it would be something like this. Yeah, it's just nice cut out stone. They would put animal feed in it. This is what Jesus' first bed would have looked like. Not the pretty little scenes that we see, but they would have thrown some swaddling cloths in there and laid them on top. And yes, nice rock hard stone bed. Merry Christmas. So this is the synagogue here at Chorazim. And there's some interesting features about this synagogue that Jesus would have visited. He would have spoken in, talked to. So we'll give you a little bit of a tour of a synagogue from the time of Jesus. Hopefully without the cameraman falling over. So this would have been the peak, the crowning pedestal, over the doorways. You can see the work that's done here. But there's some definite interesting features of it. Several of the walls have been reconstructed, so these are not original stones in the middle. But the lintels, the capstone of the pillars, those are. So walking in to the synagogue, you can see the outer wall, the inner wall with the pillars. And give you an idea. So people would be sitting on the outside edges of it. And then the ark, where they would keep the Torah, the Bible scroll, would be up here, along with the seats. Now this particular synagogue has some very unique things here. For example, on the trim that they have here in a synagogue, there's a Medusa's head. Why did they decorate with a Medusa? Well, that we don't quite know. Now what is also interesting, I mentioned the seat that would be up near the front where the teachers would sit. This is actually that seat, at least a replica of it.
It's a replica.
And that is where the teachers would sit when they would teach, and it would be up near the front, not over here on the side. So not only do we have the Medusa, but then there are symbols like this. And one of the common interpretations of this is that these represent Bacchus, the god of wine and merrymaking. And these pieces would have sat up near the tops of the arches in the synagogue itself. So they're actually blending in Roman gods with the Jewish gods. And this would, talk a little about, it would show a little bit about what Jesus is referring to when he's talking about the unbelief that is here in Chorazim. Now this chair, I want to come back to it a little bit. This chair would be the seat of Moses. This is where they would, not just the leader of the synagogue would teach from, but oftentimes they would also, when people had a dispute, they would come and the leader would sit here, the rabbi or the town leader, and issue decisions. There'd be one inside the synagogue, but sometimes, if you go up to Dan, there's actually one that's outside the city gates. And that is where they would sit when people had things they needed to talk about and help us decide what to do. When Samuel, in the book of Samuel, is receiving news about the loss of the battle of the Israelites and the death of his son, he was very likely sitting in this kind of a seat. And you notice there's no back, which is why he was falling over backwards and killed him. So just some interesting notes about ancient synagogues. Let's see. Yeah, they would have it.
I don't feel like I walked in here last time. I'm pretty sure I did not. I would remember it. 3 arches. We didn't have 3 here.
So you can see one of the arch houses here, and then these other structures just rubble right next to it. We're going to head up towards the olive press. You can see foundations for some of the pillars there. And the olive press is up here. But yeah, this is just all rubble. What would it have looked like back then? As you can see, up here even, some other foundation stones kind of outlining that the building would have been another whole room. Or even another home. And very likely that depression there was another home. Just all built right up together, sharing walls. And this is the olive oil press.
That's impressive.
What do they even do with this giant? I mean, I know it's somehow a press, right?
Okay, so you put the olives down into the bottom of it, and then you probably have,
Shove the rock.
well, you see there's a big hole in it.
Yeah.
You'd have a pole that would come out, and either people or animals,
Walk around.
and they would walk around in a circle and push it.
Do you
So
know,
just
Don,
crush
more
'em.
specifics about it?
It's just not too immovable.
And then,
It would be hard work, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what they did.
Yeah.
There would also be a pole in the center of it.
Mm-hmm.
so this is what is very likely a typical 4-room house. This would have been your entry area, and as you come in, it would have had your animals, your sheep, your oxen, whatever. It probably would have been kept there. And then you would step up. This likely was the kitchen area. You can see a couple stoves there framed in. That's where they would have had their cook fires, along with a cover and a vent to let smoke out. This follows the typical 4-room pattern. So you got 1, 2, and then they would have stepped up, and this is very likely a wealthier family's home because it's a pretty good size. And then you would have had 2 rooms up here, and this would have been the actual living quarters up in here, where they would have had their beds and sleeping and things like that. And then you would have a roof up on top. But when we talk about Jesus' birth, he would have been visiting family. They would have been staying at a home like this. And when they talk about he was born in the stable, in the manger, it would have actually been in that room of the house, not a barn in the back. Now, it's possible that it was a cave, and that's what the tradition says. If you go down to the Church of Nativity, is that he was in a cave behind the home. They did do that sometimes. But very, very possibly it was right in a room just like that he was born in, with family bustling around inside the house. They didn't have room in the guest room upstairs, so they put them in with the animals, and that's where he would have been born. And this is another typical home, if you can see it through the rubble. And I'll stand over here at the door, so you would walk in. There'd be the entry area, kitchen, and then it goes back this direction, and that would be another room. And I don't know if that's other area back there is part of this home or another. Hard to tell with the way the rubble is, but you can see the outlines. Not very big. So this is where they would have kept the animals. And they've actually got a kid station here that I'll attempt to show you what they think it looked like. But you can see the arch. And so this is the ritual baths here, the mikveh. And that looks like more animal pens. I'll get some more information on that in a bit, but this is where the actual ritual bath would have been. And what's covered up there would have been the cistern. And then you can actually see the steps over there leading down. And our ritual of baptism is really based on the Jewish mikveh, the cleansing for purity. Except in our case, in a difference, it became not a dunking to be purified, but to be sanctified, to be forgiven and cleansed of sin, rather than of dirt and filth and impurities. So symbolic, built upon it, but a little different.
It's nice and quiet.